Hi, my name is Dylan Ferguson, and like many of you, the COVID-19 pandemic has affected my life in several unexpected ways. In this video, I'm going to be talking a bit about what COVID-19 is, how it's affected my life, and how I'm coping through this time. Before I get started with how COVID-19 has affected my life, let's talk a little bit about what COVID-19 is. So COVID-19 is a coronavirus, which according to the WHO, World Health Organization, coronaviruses are a large family of viruses transmitted between animals and people that cause illnesses ranging from the common cold to more severe diseases such as Middle Eastern Respiratory Syndrome or MERS and severe acute respiratory syndrome, SARS. This specific one, COVID-19, infection can cause mild to severe disease and can be fatal to some. Common observed symptoms include fever, cough, shortness of breath, sore throat, and breathing difficulties. In more severe cases, infection can cause pneumonia or severe acute respiratory syndrome, particularly in those with other chronic underlying health conditions and even death.
A growing number of schools across the tri-state area continue to either cancel classes or move to remote learning.
Well, many colleges and universities across the Bay Area are suspending in-person classes.
So far, more than a dozen schools in the area have told students to stay home.
In response to the spread of the coronavirus, Iowa's 3 state universities announced some changes for students for the remainder of this semester. The University of Iowa, Iowa State University, and University of Northern Iowa are all moving to online learning to finish out coursework for the rest of this school year.
In the case of the college, Morningside began making announcements on how administration would be going through with the COVID-19 pandemic as early as February 29th, with an email from Chris Spicer saying that all students abroad in Italy that semester are being recalled back to the States and are expected to return by March 13th. On April 4th, Chris Spicer also released an email saying that students are encouraged to reach out to the college if they are planning on traveling for spring break. At that time, classes and events were planned to continue as normal. On March 12th, during our spring break, it was announced by Chris Spicer that spring break had been extended by 1 week to March 22nd. And classes were planning to resume as normal after that date. 4 days later, on March 16th, it was announced by Chris Spicer that classes will be delivered online beginning March 23rd. Normal class delivery was planning to resume on April 14th, but the administration would have to reevaluate the decision in the coming weeks. Resident halls and vital student services such as the dining halls, academic services, and health services would stay open, and that the NAIA 2020 sports season had been officially canceled. A few days later, on March 25th, it was announced that Morningside College would shift to online coursework for the rest of the semester, with that being directly delivered by John Reinders. It was also announced that all May terms for 2020 were canceled, and that the resident halls would close on April 8th, except to those who were eligible to stay. A day later, on March 26th, John Reinders had this announcement.
Well, you deserve this moment of revelry. COVID-19 has drastically altered our world. The recommendation and guidelines coming from the CDC tell us that we need to refrain from large gatherings. As such, I am really sorry to tell you that Morningside's commencement ceremonies will not go on as originally planned, but they will go on at a later date.
So as a senior, those announcements were very sobering for me. It meant that several activities I had been looking forward to really all semester and even all 4 years of college were suddenly gone, including my final choir tour, Vinylthon, community connections. They were all suddenly canceled. It meant that I probably am not going to be able to see several of my friends for a very long time, if ever again. I'm no longer able to experience my last proper class, my final concert, my end of the year banquet for Res Life. And even more alarming for me, it meant that after April 8th, I no longer had a place to stay. I no longer had the 2 jobs that I had been working for well over 2 years. I took a video chronicling how I was feeling the day that those were announced, and this is what I had to say.
A
WebEx meeting with the Res Life department, and it was just announced that the residence halls are going to be closing down starting April 8th. This sucks. This sucks a lot. Thankfully, I have a sister that is very supportive, and she's letting me stay in a room in her house for a couple weeks. I did apply for a few apartments a couple weeks ago. I'm waiting to hear back on those. Hopefully I can get a lease signed here soon, so then I'm not stuck there for a while. I'll get things figured out. Times are weird right now, but I know that I can figure this out and that things will be okay. Just hoping for brighter days, I guess. So initially, I kept that mentality for a while that it just sucked. And it wasn't very good for me because I just had this feeling that I was going to have to go back home for a while. That I would give up this momentum that I've been building for quite a while, and that I would just feel stuck. But fortunately, a couple days after that announcement, I heard back from one of the landlords I applied to, saying that I had been approved for an apartment and that I'd be able to put the security deposit down. I also, a couple days later, applied to Target and was able to secure that job. So fortunately, I'm still here in Sioux City, and I am working, not where I wanted to work right after college, but it's a job, and I'm still looking for opportunities within Sioux City, within mass communications. So even though maybe things looked very down, there's still a silver. And that silver lining I'm experiencing doesn't just go as far as me now having a place to live or a job I can work at. But I'm still able to see most of my choir friends once a week in a Zoom meeting that we do. And even though we're not singing together and we're not with each other face to face, it's still comforting to be able to talk with them through a screen and knowing that they are healthy at home. For Easter, I wasn't able to go home and we did not have an Easter celebration. But fortunately, we were able to put together a Zoom meeting, so I was able to see all of my family during Easter. And even though it wasn't the same, it was still comforting, like with the choir, to see them healthy on their own and knowing that everything's going to be okay in the end. Sure, it's really weird right now, but it's going to be okay. I must say though, even though there is a silver lining to much of what is happening right now, I still can't help but feel a little bit angry right now. And it's not even because of so many things for me have been canceled and that my life has changed quite a bit, but it's how some of our officials have handled this.
Well, Steve, the governor understands that Iowans want to get back to normal as soon as possible, and her disaster declarations end next week.
Hearing reports saying that Governor Reynolds wants to reopen the state, even though 3 of Iowa's cities are currently on the top 5 list of cities with the highest growth rate, including Sioux City being number 1 in the entire country. That does not sit well with me at all. It makes me feel that our government doesn't really care about our health. They care more about the convenience that some people no longer have right now. And of course, I absolutely cannot get over this clip from President Trump.
Right, and then I see the disinfectant where it knocks it out in a minute, 1 minute. And is there a way we can do something like that by injection inside or almost a cleaning? Because you see it gets on the lungs and it does a tremendous number of the lungs. So it'd be interesting to check that. So that you're going to have to use medical doctors with. But it sounds interesting to me.
But through that, I've learned the importance that sometimes you just gotta tune out from those things. I get it. The news is important. I gotta consume some news so then I know what's going on. But things like that, I try to tune out as much as possible right now because it's just gonna bring me down. Watching those clips have really made me angry this past few weeks, months. Can't even think of how long it's been now. But as long as I can get the information I need I can carry on with things. So just in conclusion with everything, it's important to see the silver lining in things. With the COVID-19 pandemic, it's really hard to see that when you're being cooped up inside all day, when you don't get to see your friends or your family very often, where if you have to work at home, you stay there, and if you go to work someplace, sometimes it could be in dangerous conditions. But in the end of it all, there's still some good that's going to come from it. You're still going to find that silver lining.